Good morning. Hi, I'm Frank Messina, and this is the November 4th, 2025 meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission. Before we start, there's a number of notices that we have to read. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on a smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman. Seeing none. Pursuant to Governor Haley's March 28, 2025, signing of Chapter 2 Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A-20, until June 30th, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that people who would like to listen to the meeting while it's in process may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 425-225-122 #, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link on the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Chatham 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. Okay. Having said that, the first order of business is a roll call. Vice Chair Bob Lear. Bob is in transit. He may call in and participate.
No, it's not Bob. That's not Bob.
Bob, are you here?
No.
Oh, it's not Bob? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Mr. Lear, are you with us?
He is not online. He is not.
I'm sorry. I'm
Say
sorry.
again?
He is not online.
I'm sorry.
That's not him, BL?
No.
Okay, thank you. Bob is absent. Nancy Barr?
Here.
Stephanie Hamilton?
Here.
Robert Stevens?
Here.
Janet Tennyson?
Here.
Robert Wilson?
Here.
Sandy Porter? Sandy is absent and Bob is absent, but the chair is here, so we still have a quorum, and we can proceed. Okay. We have a number of hearings, which could keep us busy for the next hour or so, and we'll get right into it. But before then, we have the minutes of October 21st, 2025. Any comments, corrections? I look at my teacher.
I move that we accept the minutes of October 21st, 2025.
Great.
Second.
Any other comments? Great. All right, we'll do a quick roll call on the meeting minutes of October 21st. Nancy?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Janet Tennyson?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, good. That was simple. Okay, the first application we're going to hear is 25040, 151 Main Street. This is to be heard in accordance with the Chapter 158 of the Demolition Delay Bylaw, and also because this property is in the National Register District. We're also going to be hearing it under the Section 12E of the Cape Cod Commission. So, Mr. Ford?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Mike Ford, representing the applicant, the McCarran family. And with me is John Barker of Architecture for PSD, the design builder involved in the project. This, no question, this is a very historic building. The front portion was the old, or parts of it were the old Andrew Harding store, infamous in its day in terms of a meeting place, as well as a place where you could get fishing gear and supplies. And in reading the Form B, I was most interested in the anxious benches that were kept out front where people would go and talk and And the fact that Joe Lincoln, who brought us so many novels on about the Cape, got a lot of his information from sitting on these benches themselves in front of the old store. So rich history, no question. We've got a very significant front portion of the building. Before I have Mr. Barker go through what the proposal is, I will tell you that since prior to being, since it was registered in the National Register, there have been a couple of additions. And one of them was a carport. Not exactly sure how the carport got there, or frankly for what purpose, since this is a contributing structure in the National Register. But you'll probably be disheartened to know that the alterations we want to make is to eliminate the carport. But that frankly is what it is. That was there in 2006, and we're going to be replacing that. I believe anyway, and I think you'll agree after you see the presentation by Mr. Barker, that what we're going to put there will be much more in keeping and in character with the history and architectural structure of the Andrew Harding store. So with that, let me go quickly to Mr. Barker to run you through the slides.
Good morning, everyone. So what we're looking at here is the front elevation, or the east elevation that faces Main Street, which there are no proposed modifications or changes to the street-facing elevation.
Do me a favor, just get a little bit closer to the microphone.
Sure. Sorry, Frank. And if you go to the next page, you will begin to see as we go around.
Frank, if you didn't hear him, he just said that no changes to the front facade.
I heard that.
Okay.
As you go around to the side elevation, you can see that we are removing the carport on the top left corner and replacing it with an addition of two-story living spaces. Those 2 stories are in the lower level and the main first floor living space to expand the functional use of the structure towards the rear of the property. The addition moves slightly closer to the existing structure than the existing carport, so we're pulling away from the rear property line and consolidating things together in what is, for those who were there yesterday, a fairly inconspicuous place that's kind of set down low in the backyard, blocked from the street view by the existing house and by some landscaping and natural grades. If you go to the next slide, please. Here you see the rear elevation of the structure, where in the top drawing and the images, you see the existing carport that is scheduled to be removed and the new 2-story addition that takes its place, which is, as you can see in the lower image, significantly lower and kind of subservient to the main historic portion of the house. And then next, this completes kind of as you wrap around to the fourth side. This is the north elevation, where again you see the side of the new addition to the rear. This side does face the side street, so there is a little bit more kind of articulation of architectural elements. We've added shutters to the new addition portion. You can see we've matched the original historic structure has the 6/6 double hung windows. In the previously approved and constructed addition towards the back, the window configuration has been altered to show a delineation between what is historic and what is more modern. So we've carried those newer 2/2 window configurations into the new addition, kind of further demonstrating the separation between the historic structure and the proposed addition. I think that.
So I think that's John's presentation. Mr. Chairman, as usual, PSD has tried to give you an idea of what's coming out in the dark blue on each slide and what is proposed on the light blue, so that you could see that as John went through the slides. So we would hope that this would not be something that you think needs a delay, nor to be referred to the Cape Cod Commission. We don't think it's a significant change of the historic portion of the building that's out there from the commission standpoint. And frankly, we think it may well be an improvement over what is there now. I will tell you, Mr. Chairman, although it may not be necessarily within your purview, I do want to put it on the record. I was approached just before the hearing by Nancy Whalen, who's in a butter, and her concern, although she'll probably say it herself, but I wanted to make sure she knew I would mention it as well, is with where are people going to park when this is done, the job itself, because there is no parking on this property for construction vehicles or otherwise. We understand the challenge. PSD is putting together an off-site location where so stuff can be delivered and there'll be a parking spot for that. We have to go to zoning too. Zoning generally looks at that closely, and the zoning decision would have a condition. And we'll have the protocol when we go to zoning as to what that off-site location is, and we'll share it with the Whalens as well.
Is Nancy and John thinking of just renting out their driveway? I said, is Nancy and John thinking of renting out their driveway?
No, I don't think that's it at all. No. They want to make sure there's no one in their driveway, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much, and you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, I say fortunately because that's a tough one to deal with. That's not our jurisdiction, but we do appreciate the comments, and we'll get to that. Well, let me just begin the process here. Again, as indicated, this is a contributing structure in the National Register District, and I don't think there's any argument relative to its historical significance, but one of the first things we need to do basically is just reaffirm the historical significance, and we can move that on. Nancy, so if you can give me that one. Reaffirming its historical significance in the National Register District as a contributing structure.
So not ours, but this one? Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, you don't want me to do it under Chapter 158 at this point?
Well, you can do that both, but you're reaffirming its historical
Yes.
significance
Okay, all right.
as a contributing structure.
Okay, so I'll do both. Okay, so the first motion is in relation to the National Register District. I move that the Chatham Historical Commission confirms that the home located at 158 Main Street, 151 Main Street, excuse me, is a contributing structure in the National Historic Register District.
Second.
Okay, anybody have any comments? Any member of the public wish to speak before that motion? Seeing none, I don't think there was no question about it being historically significant. So just a quick roll call, we'll move that on. Nancy?
Yes?
Steph?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. This is a two-step process that first thing, we reaffirm that something is historically significant. If we affirm that it's not historically significant, then it's a different ballgame. So, but again, this is a contributing structure in the National Register District. And you're right, I remember when we approved the carport, and I never know why we did that, but we did it, but I remember that. And it's interesting to note there about the 25%, just for members of the public. Technically, at this particular point, we're probably over the 25%. And some people argue, well, it's more than 25%. It's an automatic referral to the Cape Cod Commission. Technically, that's true. But the Cape Cod Commission, as well as us, try to resolve these things local. And the issue for us to review this is, are the changes that are being proposed, do they impact the historical significance of the building, of the National Register structure, the contributing structure? Does it diminish it as a listing on the National Register? So that's really what we're going to be talking about now. Personally, I think you did a pretty good job, and it's to the back of the building and not seen, and I don't have a problem with it, but let's walk around. Yes?
Just quickly, do we do the 158 as well?
Yeah.
We can do them at the same time, but why don't we just deal with the issue of the significance of the building first?
Okay.
Because, well, any comments relative to the application?
I have no comments right now. I think
Okay.
it doesn't diminish the changes that are proposed do not diminish the appeal of the building historically,
Okay.
in my view.
Robert?
I don't think the changes diminish the building. I am concerned about the parking.
Well, there may be an opening on zoning if Yes, Steph?
I have one question. Did you say the garage is going to be moved closer to the house?
The carport gets
Carport.
eliminated entirely.
Yeah.
The new addition is slightly closer, as you can see.
Could you put the site plan up, Kristen?
So there's currently separation between the carport and the main structure. A pathway that runs through here. Now that we're
Zoom in on that,
connecting,
Annie?
we're just a hair tighter, closer to the existing structure, further from the rear
Thank
setback.
you.
You got it, Steph?
Yes.
Good. Janet, any comments?
No, I don't think it will diminish the historical significance of the Andrew Harding, former Andrew Harding store. I think it'll be an improvement. I don't know how that carport ever got approved. It's a hodgepodge mess in the back.
Nance?
Can I just confirm if you could go back to the side with the outdoor kitchen? There's a little outdoor kitchen that you're keeping that with the cupola,
Correct.
correct?
So
So it's, I know it's sketched to show it's in front of the new addition. It will be,
yes, currently, the carport, the roof line
Yes.
continues and connects to this pavilion that houses an outdoor barbecue grill. The new plan will be to cut and separate the existing pavilion, demolish the carport and the connector, build the new addition, but leave just the pavilion with the barbecue grill in place and just repair and feather in the new shingles.
okay. I also, I agree that I don't believe these changes will impact the contributing or historical significance. I would just note that what saves this, I think, because it is quite a large mass being added to a small main historic structure, is the way that the grade changes and that it's set down and that it does not overwhelm it from the street view because of the way the landscape goes. So I think that's just something to be aware of, so somebody else doesn't come and say, well, it's the same size, it depends. But I think in terms of this project, I don't have a problem with it.
Good. All right, we seem to have a consensus, and I assume we can probably deal both with the 158 at the same time. From the members of the public, what we're deciding here, potentially, I think there's a consensus that the changes don't impact the historical significance of the building, and therefore probably not impose a demolition delay or refer it to the Cape Cod Commission. Ask the public, does any member of the public wish to speak or anything to add to the application, one way or the other, pro or con? Come on up, Nance.
I have the only house on Lighthouse Lane, and so when I look at this, I have no problem with what they're planning on doing. As I said before, my only concern is I do not want the trucks. Lighthouse Lane is a one lane, and then it comes down to a cul-de-sac, but it's not open. I mean, this is where my house is, and I'm the only one there. So I don't have any problem with what they're planning on doing.
Does this, are you required to go to zoning?
We are, yes.
Okay, so you will have an opportunity at zoning to,
Okay, then that's all I need to say.
But I just wanted to make sure for the record that we'll come up with a protocol before zoning, and we'll run it by Mrs. Whalen before that hearing.
all right. So we need to get a couple of applications. Why don't we deal with the,
Yep, okay, so continuing with the National Register at this point, I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the materials presented on today's date showing the proposed alterations and renovations and addition do not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in the National Historic Register District, and therefore a referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
okay,
Second?
second. Any comments, pro or con? Any member of the public wish to speak? Okay, quick roll call. Nancy?
Yes?
Steph?
Yes.
Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Janet Tennyson?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, part two.
Okay, this is under Chapter 158 of the Chatham General Bylaws. I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds the building the house located at 151 Main Street is historically significant because it is in whole or in part 75 years old or more. It is located within a National Register Historic District. It is also associated with one or more historical persons and possesses architectural value and significance.
Second?
And, sorry, I'm going to continue on and make it a full
Go ahead,
motion.
we can make it one.
Therefore, the Chatham Historical Commission also finds that the proposed work to be done, dated 9/24/2025, will not materially diminish the historical significance of the structure, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Any comments from the commission?
Second?
Thank you. Any member of the public? Thank you. Quick roll call. Nancy?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Janet Tennyson?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next application is 60 Pondview Avenue. And you know, with all due respect to this applicant, can you read this? I can't. I mean, you know, maybe you've got better eyes than I do. I know you got better ears than I do.
review them, I could read it, yes.
Well, you know, it's kind of like we should set a standard of, you know, not necessarily, well, anyway, it's very difficult to read it. Say again?
I was just letting the public know that we do have a fillable PDF online too, and if they didn't want to handwrite.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, this is a property, 60 Pondview Avenue. There is no Form B on the property, which means we did not provide information to Mass Historic on the historic elements of the property. It is not in a National Register District. And when our preservation consultant looked at the property, he indicated as no, which meant at a particular time we were not necessarily going to provide information to Mass Historic. That's a process we go through when we look at each application, but having said that, even though the applicant is proposing a rather significant change to a property there, so why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're planning to do, sir?
How you doing? My name's Joseph Stafford, Lewis Bay Builders. I'm representing Phil and Jill Wolf at 60 Pondview. What we're proposing to do,
Excuse me, is that Mr. Wolf with you?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
so I'm-
Just introduce yourself. Yeah, just,
I'm Phil Wolf, the owner of the property.
thank you very much. Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
so what we're proposing to do is on the front elevation, obviously, as shown on the plan, we're gonna do a dormer to expand that second floor footprint a little bit. And then we're proposing a left side gambrel addition with a rear deck addition as well. And that's really it. You know, we're using white cedar shingles, AZAC white exterior trim. We're keeping the windows the same style that is already there on the existing structure. And this design was inspired by a house that was recently designed and built 3 houses down from this. You know, the existing house right now, in our opinion, isn't, you know, wicked historic looking for the neighborhood. So what we're trying to do here is implement some classic Cape Cod architecture and look to this house to try to, you know, make it fit the neighborhood a little bit more. And we think it complements, you know, the surrounding houses for what we're proposing to do. You know, that's really it. Right now, the roof is a old style single tab roof shingle, so we're gonna add a nice architectural 3-tab asphalt roof to the addition in the entire house. We think that'll look a lot better than what's there right now. And we think it just will, you know, make the house look a little bit nicer.
Okay. The most important question is, are you going to need a pump to connect to the sewer, or are you going to be able to go out the front? I'm just half kidding, but I noticed that when I drove down the sewer, I got friends of mine live on that street, and he's looking forward to a pump. Anyway,
It's right on the cusp, so that's an unknown. But we're hoping
yeah.
that's just going to make it.
Well, the first order of business, quite honestly, is for us to stop a second and think about the structure itself. Do we consider this structure historically significant? What is there? Okay? We have information from our consultant and his opinion, but at this particular point, what we're going to do is kind of talk amongst ourselves very quickly. Do we feel this structure, the way it is existing, is historically significant? And if we determine it is, then we get into part two. If we determine, no, it's really not historically significant, then technically, you can proceed with your process. So, I don't know, this is an interesting one. I don't know if it's really, is that worthy of the designation historically significant, but why don't we go around? Nancy?
I was at the site and walked around it, and it's 2 years beyond our 75-year cutoff. It's 77 years old, and I do not see anything about it that makes it historically significant architecturally, and I do not know of any historically significant people who are associated with it. So my opinion is that it's not.
Other than Mr. Wolf, yes. Janet?
No, I agree with that. I was there for the site visit as well, and I think it's not historically significant, and it'll look much more like a Cape Cod house with this proposed construction.
Okay. Steph?
I don't feel it's historically significant.
Robert?
I don't believe it's historically significant. I was at the visit yesterday. I would just encourage the applicant, the builder, the architect, everyone to really, this is your one-time shot to change this house. So to get lazy, not that you would get lazy, but what I'm saying is I think this is the time where you could look into those finer points that would really bring it into the neighborhood and into the Cape Cod feeling. So I just encourage you to get your best camera and go out on 6A and look at a lot of these houses. Does it look like this? Something might just jump out at you to make it, so the next go-around, it might truly be historic, and it'll be worth more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert?
Yes, I visited the site. Thank you for the tour. And for the public, just wanted to show the house in case that, you probably could put that on the screen, but it's a nice landscaping, fairly plain building, and I don't see any historical significance. I will point out that I think Mr. Wolf took the design from a house similar down the street a few blocks, so, I mean, a few numbers down the street. And so that would be making the house in keeping with others on the street, and but not historically significant.
Okay. All right, we seem to have a consensus. Any member of the public wish to speak on that subject? Come forward.
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. I just drove past there this morning. I actually grew up on the Phillips Farm property right there, so it's a neighborhood I grew up in. Although the house may not be historically significant in the sense that, famous people live there or whatever, I do think it's important to try and keep with the neighborhood. I know there's a new house built down there. I want to drive. I didn't get down there that far, but I'm guessing it's like a giant, house or whatever. So I think maybe to try and keep some of the massing down, because it is a beautiful little quaint neighborhood. If you look, the houses are all very small and quaint, and I think, it's important to keep some of the massing down in order to, fit in and not go with the house that was just built and is probably giant, even though I haven't seen it yet. Thank you.
I actually tend to agree with you, even though I don't feel the house is historically significant. This is going to be a pretty big structure by the time you're done, but that's up to zoning. Do you have to go to zoning?
No, so right now, we're barely adding over 1,000 square feet. It's 1,004 square feet. Based on the existing footprint of the house, I'd maybe argue and say that it's not as big of an addition as I've seen built before that we've been involved in before. You know, I really think that it's actually going to bring positivity to the neighborhood. You know, I think it's going to increase the value of the surrounding homes. It's going to allow Mr. and Mrs. Wolf to spend more time down here comfortably, you know, and enjoy their investment. I don't think we're doing some crazy large monstrosity of an addition. And I tend to agree with the past speaker. I don't agree with doing, you know, massive, oversized additions and homes in certain neighborhoods like this. But I think that even with this addition, it'll actually be on the smaller side of homes in this neighborhood. So I think it's pretty appropriate,
Yeah, well, it's-
scale-wise.
Yeah, it's kind of outside our purview, but, you know, we
Yeah.
just, the previous speaker.
But I agree
Quick one,
with
Janet?
that.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what he's saying, and I think the topography here works in their favor. It may look like a large addition, but it's not going to be appearance from the street, and it goes down in the back just like 151 does on Main Street, so I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you. All right, I think we've got a consensus here. Why don't we, Nancy?
I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building located at 60 Pondview Avenue is not historically significant because it does not meet any of the definitional criteria in 158-2 A, B, or C of the bylaw. Therefore, the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
I'll second.
Okay, second, any other comments? Okay, just quickly, Nancy,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Janet Tennyson?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So we will not oppose demolition delay. Good luck. Thank you very
guys.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, the next application is 25042. 42 Hallett Lane. Getting a feeling of deja vu. This is going to be heard in accordance with Chapter 158. There is a Form B on the property, and it is in the National Register District. Do we hear this both?
This is not a contributing structure in the National Register District, so we are only hearing it under
Okay, right,
Chapter
okay.
158.
Thank you. Should have read the whole note. Okay, so we're going to be hearing this only under Chapter 158. Although, you know, that always is a fine line when you have a non-contributing structure in a National Register District, but that's neither here nor there at this particular point. So again, there is a Form B on the property, which means that our preservation consultant, although it wasn't listed as contributing, which is kind of interesting, and why they didn't do that. Because it really was part of the rest of the structure, but can't make a decision. Say again, Nancy? Yeah. I'm saying, you can talk to the issue of why it wasn't contributing?
It's a separate structure, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
know.
connected to
Yeah.
the structure. It's way behind it.
Right, anyway. But having said that, all right, so why don't we, Paul, why don't you give us a quick rundown of what you're proposing?
Sure. Paul Muldoon here from SV Design, representing Lee Williams and Elizabeth English and their property at 67 School Street, accessible by 42 Hallett Lane. Now, the structure here is an accessory structure. It's a garage low and apartment high, built sometime around 1930 or 1935, depending on the document, the Form B document. It's listed a couple of different ways. This part of their property is behind the main house and completely landlocked by abutting properties. The driveway access from Hallett Lane crosses over a couple of different properties to get in there. It's challenging to see from the public way.
Does it have an easement for the access?
I believe it does.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
It does have an easement. It's built over the northern property line, so there's an easement of about 3 feet that projects into the property north of 67 School Street. The existing structure here has an asphalt shingle roof. It has vinyl siding, 6/1 double-hung windows, and garage doors at this lowest level. It has a couple of stairway access points, as it is an ADU, so it has a kitchenette inside that second level. At some point, and the documentation's limited, there was this porch added to it. And the porch has some varying degrees of structure. You can see here in the picture, it's some angled 4x4s, and there's a couple of vertical ones too that are being held up by the wisteria, more than likely. So there's some challenges structurally here, both on the deck level and in the structure of the garage doors. Our proposed is to essentially create a one-story addition that infills the space below the porch. This is creating the opportunity for a car to actually fit in this space. Would do a waterproof membrane along the deck surface and then create a roof structure over the top, separating the detail of that roof structure from the main roof line so that it does distinguish itself from the historic structure to the addition. Related to the addition, the vinyl siding will come off. Cedar shingles will go on. There's a Form B picture from the original Form B that does show a cedar shingled structure with white trim. We're bringing that back. Windows will generally be the 6/1, and where they're not, there's a singular window we're proposing that's an awning window in the back side or the northern side of the structure. That will be an awning window, a 6-light. We'll be adding red cedar shingles to the roof line and replacing a defunct chimney with a cupola structure. Generally, the structure is in reasonably good shape, and our idea is to maintain it and bring it up to a particular standard, allowing it to be more utilitarian and more usable for the owners so that, again, cars can fit into the structure. And sort of a big emphasis on the actual view and sight of this structure. You can kind of see it on your pass by from School Street, but you really have to be looking for it. Otherwise, the greenery that surrounds the structure on the neighboring properties is 20, 25 feet tall, and it's very difficult to see from the public way. With that, I'm happy to take your comments.
Okay. Well, it's interesting, in some ways, you're reducing the mass by taking off that deck. Yeah. Anyway, okay, kind of straightforward, and I don't know, let's go around the room, see if anybody's got any comments. Start with you, Robert.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'll show the picture to the public. You have one there, yeah, perfect. I would say that there's no, I don't view this as historically significant. There's no streetscape, number one. And if I make a scale of historic interest and features of 1 to 10, this would be like a 3 or something. It's clearly not historic in my view because of the lack of features. It's a very plain building. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Nance?
I tend to agree. Any building associated with a National Register district, you tend to think of as significant by association. Certainly, the main house is historically significant. But even if this was historically significant, I do not believe the changes would impact that. In fact, they improve it. So I'm a little agnostic on the significance, but I don't have any problem with this property.
Yeah, great.
I agree with my colleagues. I do not think it's historically significant.
I just have one question. You talk about it being an ADU. Is that what it's going to be?
It always has been. The Form B describes it as an apartment and garage.
Right, that's what I was wondering. If it's just going to be an apartment for them, or it's going to be an ADU?
An apartment. No change in use.
Thank you.
Robert?
I don't have any problem with it.
Thank you. Well, I guess I disagree with some of the comments made, in that I do have no problem with the changes. I think the changes are modest. But the fact that there is a Form B, and that it's part of that general National Register district, and that whole area, I would, at this particular point, be hard for me to say it all of a sudden, something built in the 30s is not historically significant in the old village. So, I feel it is historically significant, but I do feel that the changes proposed, in no way impact the historical significance. So, anyway, difference of opinion. Any member of the public wish to speak on the subject? We still have an opening on the board,
Just sit right up here.
Don't say that, Frank.
For the record, Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. So I'm going to have to agree, anything built before World War II has got to be historically significant, with all the different, wood and stuff. that were used, the materials. I guess my comment is, that, again, it's whatever. You add a little of this, a little of that, but it's, that's like a beautiful little quaint Cape Cod building, and then that looks like something you'd find in like California. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? All right, Nance, I don't know, I wasn't counting heads, but you want to give a motion relative to its historical significance, and we'll take it from there? Or you can combine both of them if you'd like.
I think that probably I will start with this, and we should vote on the significance.
Okay.
And see how people feel. I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building located at, 42 Howlett Lane is historically significant because it is in whole or in part 75 years old or more. It's located in a National Historic Register district, and it is associated with historical persons through the main house and has architectural value because of its age.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, why don't we just do a roll call? We'll feel where chips fall where they may. All right, this is historical significance. Nancy?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Janet? Janet?
I'm thinking,
You're thinking.
I mean, it really
Want me to
isn't.
pass?
I guess I can say it's historically significant, but I
Yes,
wouldn't
okay.
oppose anything against it.
Robert Wilson?
No, but I was confused, can I just say that I was confused by what Nancy was saying about the building being excluded from the historic.
No, she
It
didn't say.
it is
You can
is
clarify
listed as a non-contributing structure,
In a
but
national
that does
register
not necessarily determine historical significance.
Right, but it didn't say it was, right?
Well, we're into the discussion of what is contributing and not contributing, and that's an issue that is determined, it's a long process, so whether
Okay.
something's contributing or not.
Anyway,
contributing.
I'm just the only no vote, but
Okay, no, I understand the confusion, and I vote yes. Okay, Nance?
I recommend that the Chatham Historical Commission also finds that the proposed work to be done, dated October 6, 2025, will not materially diminish the historical significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Second.
Okay, all right, we're going to do a quick roll call. Any member of this public wish to speak on that motion? Nancy?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Robert Stevens?
Yes.
Janet Tennyson?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
the motion was,
This is to impose, not to impose a demolition.
agree, yes.
Yes, okay, and the chair votes yes. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you, sir.
It was a simple one this
That
time.
was really nice. Thank you.
I thought
Appreciate
we'd
your
at
time.
least have 4 or 5 meetings.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We got to smile, guys, or else, we start crying after a while.
Can't send them away with a smile.
All right, it's 11:15, and let's see if we can get out here before lunchtime. Okay, the last application in our agenda is 25043, 65 Elephant. Yeah. Eliphamis Lane, and this is to be heard both under Chapter 158, the demolition delay bylaw, and under Section 12E of the Cape Cod Commission Act. This is, in fact, a contributing structure in a National Register District. Just a quick aside, when a National Register District is created, okay, the applicant, in this case, the Historical Commission, whoever did it, they will determine through their preservation consultant what they consider to be contributing to the district or not contributing. The individual homeowner can opt not to make in other words, if they don't want their property to be considered contributing, they can opt out. It doesn't mean it's not historically significant, but the owner could opt out as a contributing structure. Then it goes to Mass Historic, and they will either confirm or deny whether something should be made a contributing structure. So it's an iterative process. It's not science. Tell me about it. It's historical preservation. Yes?
Just to add to that, so it's a different bar to be considered a national register listed property or a national district. It's a different bar than architectural significance from our Chapter 158. It's not totally separate, but it's two different bars.
Having said all that, did it go to Mass? Did this one?
Oh, sure.
Did it get appealed and all that?
And this, when I wasn't part of the old village, nobody here was, when the National Register District was created, this was opted out as not a contributing structure, but it is in the National Register District. Okay, just sorry to clarify that. I'm sorry, Chris.
No worries. Chris Cannon, for the record, speaking for Ann Picardo and family today. They approached me in March this year, and with the idea that they needed to do repairs to the house. The house had been in a flood event some point within the last year and a half. I suspect it was probably spring of '24. We had about four major storms that brought the elevations of the oceans up. Soft flooding in a lot of houses that year. And this one, I took, I believe 4 of you went in with me yesterday. I kind of made you go inside. I showed you the watermarks on the interior of the house. They're between 10 and 8 inches up. If it flooded once, you can be certain it will flood again. The FEMA has very specific rules and regulations regarding work done in floodplain. If you spend 50% of the value of the market value of the house to make repairs, you must comply with FEMA. Now, there are exemptions for historic buildings, variances that can be sought. However, they put a lot of risk on towns, on the state, on the federal government, Cape Cod Commission, that, would basically could cost towns a lot of money. So it's going to cost a lot of money to do this. Now, so what we've done is we're showing you today what FEMA would require us to do. Now, they would not require me to have a spiral stair, but I am required to have 2 forms of egress. I can't put them on the sides of the house because I have to have a 3-foot wide passage, and on both sides of the house, I have 2 feet of land. So I had to go, and they both have to be, by the way, remote from one another. So I had to go to the west, and I had to go to the east, and put 2 separate stairways, and that's why you see what you see there. I could have put it on pilings to get it to there. Just to back up a little bit, flood zone is elevation 12. It's an AE flood zone. It's not a coastal flood zone. So it basically is not going to see wave action. But flood zone is elevation 12. We have to be 2 feet above that, according to FEMA. And that's what you're seeing. We're at elevation 14. That's the top of the first floor, has to be at that point. There's not room for any error on that. It can't be 1 inch above it. It can't be 1 inch below it if we're abiding by FEMA. So again, there are exemptions for this, but they're very nonspecific. And of course, we have a government that's currently shut down. And if you try to find any information on FEMA regarding this, even though there are bulletins that are available, they, for some reason, have pulled the bulletin for historic structures, specifically for historic structures. Tried to find it. I was able to find a little bit of it from the state of Missouri. And it really gives no indication of what we can do. That would be by variance, something less than elevation 14, or even base flood elevation of elevation 12. They hint that maybe you could go to elevation 12, but they don't say you can do that. And all this would be done by variance. And variances themselves have very specific criteria as well. You can't take into account the other houses in the neighborhood. You can't take into account what a neighbor might think. You just have to take into account that lone building. So the fact that you're in a historic district is irrelevant for that variance. Now, you would not be granting the variance. The variance presumably would be granted by the zoning board of appeals or whomever.
You're talking about this variance from the FEMA?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about a variance from FEMA?
It would be a variance, and again, trying to get the information of where the variance is coming from.
I'm not sure it's the zoning board.
It may not be, but the zoning board would have to do their own piece. And so there's a lot of information that's very, very difficult to get to.
Yeah.
That would allow you potentially to do something less than elevation 14.
Yeah.
So, my client was not seeking to elevate her house. Just wasn't. She's owned the house for 16 years, and that was not in her cards. This is strictly because of the requirements that have been imposed because of the damage done to the building. So, no changes whatsoever to the interior of the house, other than, kitchen needs to be updated and whatnot, as a result of the flooding, that basically the kitchen cabinets had to be removed. So the actual building itself is just being elevated, and then the means to get there, and we put a deck on, which is part of the means to get there, on the west side, as a result of needing to get in and out of the house. So, again, I enclosed the bottom portion. It is not habitable space. It will have a gravel floor. It is strictly storage, more like a boathouse. That's how that came about. Again, I could have just simply put it on pilings, but I think this is a better look than pilings, frankly. So but that's just my opinion. And I treated the materials as something separate so that it would allow the house to show as a historic house. So I think at this point, what I'd love to do is to get your input. There's a lot of unknowns here. We respect what the neighbors have said. We've seen their comments. We respect what has been said by the old village. I'm happy to answer to some of the things in there as we get into that discussion.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. And I agree with you. This is, this ain't an easy one. Quite honestly, it's the first one for us, the Historical Commission, at least in the 20-some years I've been associated with. Maybe Nancy, I don't think we ever had one. We have had homes which we have allowed to be elevated, not that we're allowed, but that we didn't provide a demolition delay. And they were mostly in the Little Beach area, not in the National Register District. And we, quite honestly, on most of them, we determined they were not historically significant, so it was kind of an easy decision for us. But in this case, this property is just an enigma in some ways. And I hear you, what you're saying about FEMA, and it unfortunately is a fact of life, and this is probably not the last one on the shores of Chatham, Stage Harbor, Mill Creek, all over the place, where we're going to be dealing with this kind of a situation. But it's a new one for us, as it being the National Register District and a contributing structure. I think I mentioned to you briefly, I have reached out to the Cape Cod Commission. Sarah Korjeff just recently retired, but there are other people who are involved, and I'm looking for some clarification, from their point of view. Technically, this is more than 25%, so slam dunk. We sent it to the Cape Cod Commission. But as I said earlier in the previous application, that's not the way we operate. The Cape Cod Commission is looking for us to attempt to resolve things locally and not take an applicant and drag them through making lawyers rich by going for 9 months to this Cape Cod Commission. So, what we do is we reach out to the Cape Cod Commission and we have them provide some guidance to us, at least what the application is, how we could, like you asked for comments. Well, these are comments from professional preservation consultants as well as professional people who know the law as far as it relates to the Cape Cod Commission. So having said that, and from yourself and members of the commission, I have initiated that process. Christina did this morning. We forwarded your application. Hopefully, we'll get back, in about a week or two, some comments of what they feel. That's one issue. And I'm talking more administratively now that we get into the actual application. The other issue is, how the heck, does the owner have any access?
So the access, the
I
way it
mean,
was.
you got to row a boat, they don't own any land.
Yeah, the way the access was written into the deeds was that they had access by way of the shoreline that would equal the width of the property being 19 feet wide. So they would have presumably 19 feet of access along the shoreline. However, the shoreline half the time is underwater, and it's wetlands, so conservation doesn't want you using it.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, how does the owner get into his house, her house?
They've gone by way of the shoreline, traditionally.
Okay, that's one issue.
Yeah.
The other issue is, there's a lot of landlocked parcels in Chatham. And it's usually an easement with your neighbor or something like that. In this case, the neighbors are cheek and jowl. I mean, everybody's right next to each other. These are all small houses.
Right.
And the other question is, like you alluded to, when and if this ever gets approved and how it processes, I can just see the Conservation Commission allowing you to put a barge in there to do the work, and that's but again, I'm outside my purview.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of these conversations, both with the building commissioner and conservation, and the engineer that's involved has suggested potential for a catwalk, which would be a temporary structure
I
that would
get you,
allow us to
okay.
get there.
I'm sorry, that was
which
just
legally
curiosity on my part,
Yeah, he could potentially do that.
Yeah.
So, again,
Yeah.
not my thing either.
Okay, no, I
but
understand.
trying to figure out the whole thing and how it works.
All right, well,
That is.
so, members of the commission, we've got a very interesting application here that we have to deal with, at least to determine, and then maybe as Chris suggested, he would like to hear our comments. And our comments is relation to, it's a National Register building, a contributing structure, and what we generally go is, are the changes significant in such it will diminish its National Register significance? So why don't we try and, we can ask whatever you'd like to ask, but that's kind of the first question. And I think what Chris is looking for is some guidance, and we have some members of the public which like to speak, and we'll get through that. But I think at this point, first, let's just think about it or discuss if you have any questions or comments, and we'll start here. Nance, want to start? Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to be blunt, but I do not see anything about this that retains the historical character of the structure, of the grouping, of the neighborhood. I realize what you're saying about legal requirements in FEMA, but if I'm looking at this as a historical commissioner and the laws under which we typically make decisions, this would be an absolute no in terms, or it has to go to the commission, or no to any demolition in my mind, because raising that up 14 feet, it destroys.
9 feet.
Sorry.
8 foot 8.
Okay. Raising that and both by itself and among the buildings that it's with and in the National Register District, I personally believe would be a complete no. I don't see how from a historical significance
That's kind of what I'm
we
looking
can
for.
say it
just
does
a
not completely
top-level discussion.
destroy it.
All right, Janet, go ahead.
I agree with everything Nancy said, and having been to the site visit yesterday, and having to have about 6 inches to pick my way through neighbors' yards to get to this place, which was, looked to me like a fishing shack that is in the marshes now. And the plan definitely is detrimental to the historical significance of this little fishing shack. I could not approve this.
Steph?
Could I just ask, when you use the term plan, could you expound on that?
Pardon me?
When you use the term plan, could you expound on that? What plan?
Oh, the size of the proposed structure that you're planning on building in its
So
place.
the elevations are.
The elevations and the size, I didn't even see that much. It's going to go right, must be going right to the property lines on either side. There is no room there. I mean, literally no room.
I think Nancy, Janet, excuse me, I believe if I understood the application, he's not changing the footprint. So
Well, even if he doesn't change the footprint, it's going to be, it's enormous.
yeah, no, the height, I just wanted to separate the issue of height versus footprint, yes.
Well, there's no more room to go anywhere anyway, so.
Yeah,
Except the water.
yeah. Steph?
I'm in a quandary. I think that they have to do this for the law, but it doesn't really hit the historic faction of it.
Okay. Robert?
Yes, I've got a few questions for you. I was on the visit yesterday. One of my most interesting visits. Is there an association amongst these little cottages?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, Kyle is.
No, sorry. Wait a second.
Sorry about that, everyone. There's no association amongst.
Do me a favor.
Can you introduce yourself? And
My name is Kyle Gould. I'm at 61 Eliphamitz. There's no association with respect to the cottages that you walked through yesterday. The other properties are owned by my father, my mother, and myself.
Thank you.
There is a broader Old Village Association in which
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, but nothing formalized under the law. Okay.
Other than the Old Village Association, there's no specific.
Okay, that was just my first question. So, to me, it seems like we're putting the cart way before the horse here. If the builders and the people working on this property don't even have deeded rights over land, it just seems like, it seems, I was involved in something in a different state where it was illegal to be landlocked. You could not landlock. In other words, somebody couldn't buy a piece of property and intentionally landlock somebody. I don't know that anybody did this intentionally, but it is landlocked and only available through the marsh. And my opinion is that I think this is maybe a first starter drawing, but the ability to get this property needs to be resolved first. I don't know what, in Massachusetts, whether it's a.
Well, that's kind of where excuse me, Robert, but I agree with you, and that's the reason I did what I did yesterday or over the weekend, and that is I reached out to the Cape Cod Commission and provide guidance, because this is a contributing structure in the National Register District. I mean, technically, we could just stop and send it to the Cape Cod Commission, and then that's it, we're done, okay? And it's up to them to make the big decision. They get paid more money than we do. But I feel that that's not a good way to proceed. We don't do that. We like to work with the applicants to let them know we're not trying to just stop anything. We want to look at it.
No,
So
that wasn't.
I agree with you, but I would just say one other thing. As part of that, I also had a discussion yesterday with the building commissioner and the director of community development. How the heck does this, how was this approved? And they're looking into it, over that same question that you just brought up. How does this proceed? What happens when someone has a landlocked piece of property, whether it's landlocked or sea-locked, okay? What's the authority? And now, hopefully, and I just have a conversation, hopefully, the applicant and Chris, you're having your lawyer look at it, and somebody, at our next time we get together, somebody can provide some loyalty, whatever the word is, some opinion of what it is. And I'm sure your lawyers are going to say, you have to do it. But let's discuss it so we can proceed.
And if I can add to that, to your point, that all those things do have to be solved, and we're working to solve those and have been since the beginning of this project. But if I raise it 1 foot just to get out of the water, 2 foot, or to get the first floor out of the water, 2 foot to get the structure out, it requires the same exact problems to be
Yeah.
solved.
Right.
Yeah.
So whether I'm going up to elevation 14 or going up to elevation 8 is irrelevant,
Okay,
okay?
all right. Sorry, go ahead.
I still have my list.
Go ahead.
Okay. No association, no access. You estimate the valuation is around $1 million right now?
No, the town assessor has it at 141,000, I think, and.
But what have they sold in there for?
I'm sorry?
But units have sold in there, or?
Well, this one was sold for 400,000 roughly 16 years ago.
Excuse me,
2008.
Robert, it's not the sale price, it's
not.
It's the value of the structure.
Right, market value of the structure, which, you can go to an appraisal process and get someone to come in and say, well, it's worth $1 million to build it, but we know it's not. I mean, that building itself, in the condition that it currently is probably pretty close to what the assessor says it is, which is about.
Okay, so if you apply the 50% number that you mentioned earlier, how much money would that?
$70,000.
And you couldn't do much with 70,000, I take it?
No.
Well, anyway, my first impression was it's a nice fishing shack. It isn't, from my view, it hasn't been terribly well kept up inside or outside. So if you didn't point it out, I wouldn't know that it had been in a flood. I mean, you pointed it out, but you wouldn't know otherwise. So anyway, I'll just stand with my thoughts here, as I think the horse, we're putting the
That's
horse
kind of where I wanted to go.
behind the
Let's
cart.
talk it out, yeah. Robert?
Yes, I thank you for the tour yesterday. Very interesting dilemma, kind of a rock and a hard place situation. But just if you look at the bottom picture here, which you could put up if you want, but you can just see it here if the camera can see me. If you build the 14-foot high structure with the 8-foot lift or whatever it is, it's going to overshadow all the other houses in that little cluster. That I think would be a non-starter for me. It's not, I agree with Janet, it's just a non-starter to go up that high. Try to figure out a way, hopefully Frank can get some answers from all these contacts he's had, and some of the questions Robert had could be answered, but try to find a way to build something that's more in keeping with the other houses. It's impossible, I know, but that's what I would say.
Okay. Again, I just wanted to start the conversation, because it's a conversation, and I think, we generally agree, we're not going to make a decision, we shouldn't make a decision today until we have better information, and I think Chris agrees with that. But having said that, in the spirit of getting conversation, we do have a number of public comments and letters, so why don't we deal with that first and get them into the record? And Nancy, you want to begin the process?
Sure. These are not short, but they're well considered, and I'm going to read the 3 letters that I have that are from multiple people. The first letter is dated October 29th, 2025, from Winnie Lear. She's the president of the Old Village Association. Dear Commissioners, the Board of Directors of the Old Village Association represents its members who are property owners in Chatham's Old Village National Register Historic District and many others who care deeply about the Old Village. Our mission is to preserve and protect the historic nature and architectural beauty and integrity of the Old Village area. The Directors write to express our concerns regarding the application for alterations to the cottage at 65 Oliphamitz Lane. The cottage is a contributing structure in the Old Village Historic District in the National Register of Historic Places. And then she gives the specific referral and a link. The waterfront cottage at the foot of Oliphamitz Lane is one structure in a grouping of former summer cottages and fishing shacks. They create a historic waterfront tableau along the eastern shore of Mill Pond. See the attached photos. and I will hold them up at the end. The scale of changes, height and mass increase, and the design elements, e.g. upper story deck and spiral staircase, proposed in this application are such that the historic character and integrity of both the original structure and the surrounding setting would be destroyed. The features of the cottage and its relationship to other structures along the shoreline that qualify it for inclusion as a contributing structure in the National Register District would no longer be discernible. We encourage the property owner, the architect, and the commission to work together to revise the plan in a manner that maintains both the historic appearance of the structure and the character of the shoreline. It is our hope that a collaborative effort will ensure that characteristics of the neighborhood we all value are sustained. The directors of the Old Village Association request that, if changes are not made, this application be sent to the Cape Cod Commission and a demolition delay be imposed. Thank you for your consideration. And these are historic pictures, which are up. Great. Okay, the next letter is dated October 30th, and it is from Lee Williams and Elizabeth English at 42 Hallett Lane and 67 School Street.
No, that's,
Oh, sorry, that's regarding 42 Hallett Lane. I didn't realize.
We should read it in
Okay,
after.
we'll do,
Sorry.
apologize, yeah, yeah.
I didn't-
I thought, okay, thought
Got it.
they were,
That was my mistake.
they were putting in their opinion on this one. Okay, this second letter then is dated October 31st, and it is from the owners of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 properties in the neighborhood, which I will refer to in a second. The owners of numbers 14, 28, 36, 43, 47, 49, 51, 55, 61, and 63 Olifimets Lane are in strong opposition to the proposed partial demolition and substantial alterations to 65 Olifimets Lane. Our concerns include, but are not limited to, 1, the architectural proposal, 2, the loss of character to the shore and surrounding area, and 3, the environmental hazards, and 4, impact and potential damage to the surrounding properties and watercraft. The owner of 65 Olifimets Lane is proposing to raise the 557-square-foot summer rental property approximately 9 feet in the air and essentially double the square footage of the landlocked cottage. The proposed changes to the property would cause large and troublesome changes to the historic Mill Pond landscape. This stakeholder group believes that the owner and architect of 65 Olifimets could, in a reasonable approach, make alterations to the plans without constructing a towering 30-foot structure, doubling the square footage of the property, and negatively altering the Mill Pond landscape. We are concerned with several aspects of the proposed renovations which, in our opinion, will drastically transform the existing structure in ways that are incongruous with the aesthetic of the surrounding properties on the Mill Pond and the Old Village. First, maximizing the height of 65 Olifimets to nearly 30 feet tall would be precedent-setting and a true detractor of the Mill Pond historic landscape. To put into perspective the height variance, the proposal would make 65 Olifimets tall enough to negatively impact the solar panels of a neighbor and the views of others. Second, the proposal includes the addition of 2 exterior staircases and 2 decks that are incompatible with the character of the surrounding properties. The first new deck would be on the ocean side of the revetment wall, further encroaching directly into the marshlands of the Mill Pond, and the second new deck would loom over the neighboring property's outdoor space. By keeping the lower deck, adding an oceanside deck, and a new second-floor deck, the owner is proposing an expansion of the use of the property. The design intends to encroach on the marshlands of the Mill Pond even further, with the proposed spiral staircase extending past the revetment wall. On the other side of the property, 65 Olifimets is looking to effectively remove all the green space on the property. What has not been addressed in this proposal is how the project would feasibly occur. 65 Olifimets is landlocked from any reasonable access, with the only foot traffic access being over the marshlands, and then still access is title dependent. Additionally, those who wish to access the property by way of the marshlands must also scale a 40-inch concrete revetment wall. Without reasonable access to the property by contractors, the property will need to be lifted over the marshlands and stored on a barge, potentially impeding the waterways/moorings. The potential environmental issues and dangers of this stunt are numerous. 65 Olifants lacks access to basic necessities such as its own septic tank or the ability to transport waste for disposal by any manner other than over the marshlands. Given the location of the property, how these issues are being addressed early on in the project is important. We want to emphasize that we believe there is a less invasive way to improve 65 Olifants without materially impacting the mill pond's character, and it starts with a reduction in the project scope, including height and square footage. We cannot be supportive of the plan as proposed, and we would encourage material changes to the proposal to keep the character of the old village intact. We appreciate the Historical Commission hearing our concerns. We hope that you impose a demolition delay and encourage the owner to consider revising the project in keeping with our concerns. And that is signed by Schuyler Coppage, 14 Olifants, Peter Emerson, 28 Olifants, Susan Gordon, 36 Olifants, Jim Donovan, 43 Olifants, Rob Volo, 47 Olifants, Harold Gould, 49 Olifants, Brooke Thomas, 51 Olifants, Bill Lightfoot, 55 Olifants, Kyle Gould, 61 Olifants, and Ellen Gould, 63 Olifants Lane in Chatham.
Okay. If there are members of the public who would like to further comment at this particular point, I'd be happy to entertain that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Attorney Mike Ford. I rise on behalf of 2 of the 10 folks who signed that letter, Ellen Gould and Kyle Gould, who's here with us today. Ellen could not be here today. And frankly, we think the letter says it all, but I do think that you have to keep in mind what your focus is and your jurisdiction and your directive. And it would seem to me that this cries out for both the imposition of a demolition delay and perhaps a referral to the Cape Cod Commission, although I applaud the Commission's longtime policy of trying to work out things locally. Makes sense to me, and I think you've already reached out, Mr. Chairman, to the Cape Cod Commission, and I'd be interested to see what their response is. It seems to me that the resolution here is in the nature of a balance, a fair balance, between the policy that drives the historic considerations for both the National Register District and the local bylaw, and the safety conditions that, or considerations that are part of FEMA. And somewhere we can find a balance. Other homes flooded in this area. No one's running out and trying to put them up 9 feet. There is a way to keep these properties up the way the rest of the folks have in that area through continual maintenance and fixing things up when there is a problem, and balancing the necessary amount of investment versus the value of the structure. And there's a way to do that, and there's a way to sit down and work with your neighbors to do that. And we would encourage the applicant to take that path. We think that's probably what we're going to, would find a solution. The letter from the 10, and I only represent 2 of the 10, Ellen and Kyle Gould, is a positive letter from the standpoint that they try to point out that there is a way, in their view, to get this done. Now, I've heard Chris suggest that you need variances for all of that, and the variances are very strict, and they can't take into consideration the overall neighborhood, which of course is the driving force behind the historic district, is to keep that flavor and character of the waterfront. That's looking at FEMA in a vacuum, and this calls for looking at it a little broadlier so that the historic considerations come into play. My clients feel that that can happen, but it can only happen if the applicant steps back, takes a breath, and says, okay, let's see if there is a way through whatever relief is necessary to come up with some changes that are minor in terms of the elevation and in terms of expanding the footprint through a series of decks and patios and stairways, which is what you have before you. So we'd encourage the applicant to take that, whether that involves pulling the application back, continuing it. We'd suggest that if that doesn't happen, then we'd encourage the commission, obviously, to take the step we think is the obvious one for you, impose a delay, and we work it out during the delay period, or try to, and send it to the commission so that we can get the commission, as your chair has indicated, their expertise in trying to help solve this. There are manuals. I have gone online. I have looked at them as to how to balance the need to comply with FEMA standards in terms of raising up in height and preserving historic integrity. I've been involved in several of them in the Barnstable area and in Katuitt, and we were able to work it out. And so I think there is a way to do it. It does involve your building commissioner. They're a key player in terms of any variance from the state building code. And it may well involve the Zoning Board of Appeals in terms of the floodplain bylaw that exists within zoning. But my clients feel that this neighborhood is worth everybody rolling up their sleeves and making that effort. And they stand ready to try to help in that process, and we hope that the applicant does too. What encouraged me is when Chris started off and said that his client is not looking to elevate the property. I was very encouraged by that when I heard that, and that's on the public record. Well, if that's the case, we're all on board in trying to help, and the applicant's got the same view as we do. And so it sounds ominous. All these variances, all these balancing of the public policies of FEMA versus the historic, but it can happen, and we think in a close neighborhood like this, we ought to be able to work it out. So we'd encourage the commission to go very slowly here. It sounds as if you're in a posture where maybe this is going to get continued. I understand that. My clients understand that. But I think you've given a clear signal today in your comments that if it isn't revised or it isn't continued for some period of time or withdrawn, that the commission sees having to put a demolition delay on it and perhaps send it to the commission. And we'd encourage that if that's the only way to go. Thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Oh, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And when you mentioned the issue of balance, and it reminds me of Hallway Street, which is also in the National Register District, and there was 3 or 4 houses along there, which are in the flood zone, and we dealt with it, and it didn't go up 14 feet, but, you know, there were breakaway foundations and things like that. And I'm sure it wasn't completely risk-free.
No, it wasn't.
And you know, and to me, and I think from Chris, what the owner's presenting here is a risk-free solution.
Yeah.
You know, raise it, and, you know, I got no more risk.
Well, the other thing that's encouraging here is you're in the flood zone, yes, but you're not in the velocity zone. You're not in the V zone.
No.
So there is some ability to work. And I have a lot of respect for their representative here. Chris is somebody who can bring both character, I believe, and creativity to this process. So we're encouraged. They've got the right people, and we're willing to work with them to get it done.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, does any member of the public wish to speak who hasn't spoken before? Okay.
For the record, Brian Phillips, 372 Orleans Road. I support the Gould's position on this. Kyle and I went to school together. He's a kind and generous man. His family and he and his family have been contributing members of this community for a long time, and for as long as I can remember throughout Chatham's history. Cakewold Park too, right? So I think that should be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris, I guess at this point, you know, we're dealing what we're dealing with here, and I think, as Mr. Ford indicated, I think he got a sense of the commission, or at least the consensus on how they feel about it, reluctantly, and I think, you know, I prefer that we not do it, and maybe the way to do this is just get some more information that'll help us, and that and I will pursue with the Cape Cod Commission and earnestly. And I would suggest, if you agree, that we continue, and quite honestly, our next meeting, that's why I was on the phone. I wasn't checking my Facebook. I was checking the calendar. Okay, our next meeting is the 18th, and we don't have any hearings on that day. One? And plus, we have a lot of discussion items we're going to have. Can I suggest we use the 18th as a filler date, so to speak? But it's possible we're not going to get the Cape Cod Commission results.
And that's fine. I think.
We'll do it for
want
the
this to be
18th, and then we'll deal with it incrementally.
Yeah, we want this to be a dialogue. You asked me before the meeting, why would I take this project on? Well, quite frankly, which is a good question, and quite frankly, and I've had this conversation with Kyle Gould and Chris Gould, better me than some other architect to come on, because I know them. I'm going to look out for them the same way I'm going to look out for my client. So I want to see that happy medium, but I want my client, first and foremost, to have her use of her house. And one thing that I would also, sort of reluctantly pose as something for you to think about, is that the longer that this is delayed, the more this house goes into decay. And it defeats the purpose of preserving, which is the ultimate goal of this board and my client. We want to preserve this. So if we can find that place that's risk-free, if that's even possible, that's.
Can you and the owner take steps to limit that decay? I mean, is the roof leaking?
No, the roof is not. The decay is that there's black mold in there, and black mold does its damage.
Well,
And
what you
so
could
the longer
clean
it's
it
there,
out.
the more we have to remove, the more expensive it gets. And
You could clean it out.
we haven't been given permission to do anything to it from the building commission.
You could
so.
clean it out. You don't need permission to clean your house.
Demolition, you do.
Well, if not interiorly,
You have to have, because of the electrical and the plumbing, you have to have permission from the building inspector. We haven't gotten that. We haven't sought it.
yeah.
We're working with
Where do
him.
they get the electrical? Is it underground?
I don't know. Quite frankly.
Is there
I-
electrical in the house?
Yeah, because there were appliances, so.
Where's the sewer?
Sewer is actually septic. It's on the property next to it that Ellen Gould owns.
This sounds like a real
Yeah, these were
community effort.
two parcels. The Ellen Gould's and this were sold as one group, and somehow back in, I want to say 2003, separated out as two parcels. And I believe Brian's mother owned one, if I'm not mistaken, and Ellen owned the other. So,
All right, we're not going to, there's a lot of things to be discussed, so I think at this
Absolutely.
particular point, we're going to entertain a motion to adjourn it until the November,
Continue it, yeah.
continue to the November 18th meeting.
I move with the support of the applicant that we continue this until our November 18th meeting.
I'll second that.
Any other comments? All right, quick roll call. Nancy?
Yes?
Steph?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
Chair, yes. Thank you very much, Chris.
thank you.
If you get some additional information that you can share with us before, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, the only thing that I can add that, I've done a lot of research on FEMA and historic buildings, what you can get at the moment. But the town itself should be adopting a position. And presumably that would be this board. And that position has to be consistent throughout when it comes to floodplains. And so whatever the result of this may help to
Well, I
lead
beg
to
to
that.
differ you, that we will not establish position relative to floodplain. We will establish a position only relative to historical integrity, and that's what we do.
Then it would be the town.
And that is the town. It would be Mr. Briggs. It
Yes.
would be the building department.
Yeah.
And I've already had a preliminary conversation with him, and it needs to get understood.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, the town's answer is probably a simple one, which doesn't necessarily include historic preservation.
Right. Send
raise
it
it
up
up.
to FEMA height.
And that's unfortunately, or fortunately, why we exist,
Yeah.
because we don't go for the simple answers. Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, we have, if you go back to the agenda, guys, there's just one real new business item that I would like to address, and I think what we did on purpose is we moved everything off to our next meeting, which is the 18th. And if you look at the agenda, you can see we talk about it November 18th, November 18th. I would like you to, if you could really take a hard look at what we're looking to discuss, so we can have an interesting dialogue on interest of protocol of meeting, if you have some other suggestions, the rules and regs as it related to administrative approval. Eric Dre from our preservation consultant will be here to discuss where we are with the Form Bs and what the process he's going to use, because there were some questions. And then the issue, last but not least, Christine O'Grady, the town planner, will be here. You have her report, okay? So just look it over. I did meet with her briefly yesterday on the question that was asked by previous members, what's her experience? If you read her report, she does include information relative to the experiences the other towns have, okay? And it's positive and negative, but I quite honestly was encouraged by some of the towns. Now, granted, we're talking about Nantucket, we're talking about, towns that have like the whole town as a National Register district, but yet there is precedence here on how it's being done. And so we'll talk about that more with Christina. The one thing we have to do before we leave here today is the issue of 776 Main Street. Okay, the Monomoy Theater property. I requested my attendance at a site visit at 776 Main Street, which is the Monomoy Theater. The applicant or the owner of the property, Mr. Chatham Properties, Craig and Victoria Clark, have put an application in for the HBDC to demolish the building, the theater building. They have asked me for some comments, the HBDC. Now, their meeting is tomorrow, and quite honestly, I intend on attempting to attend the meeting. But in the meantime, it shouldn't be Frank Messina's opinion, it should be the opinion of the other members. And let me tell you where we are right now. There was an article in the Chronicle, which hopefully you read, I know I sent it to you. And that's kind of how I felt, and I've already made it known. Let me just give you a little quick background, because we have some new members of the commission here. The commission has been involved with the Monomoy Theater for a long time. Before the property was sold, we, through the town, through Katie Donovan, we hired Eric Dre to upgrade the Form B for the property. We upgraded the Form B for the property because it was our intention, the Historical Commission, to attempt to ask Mass Historic to make a determination on the eligibility of the site as a National Register property. We had taken it, up to the 5-yard line. We were ready to do that. Fortunately or unfortunately, the property was sold. And I think this is going 2019, 2020. What happened around that time? Was it called COVID? Okay. A lot of things didn't happen. So we never submitted it to Mass Historic, partly because of everything going on with COVID, but also because the property changed hands. Mr. Clark purchased the property. I reached out to him very quickly and I said, hey, if you're a commercial property here, you're going to run a business there. If you get this listed on the National Register, you can get 20% tax credits, and he was already planning to do that. He told me that he was going to pursue the listing of the National Register through the Mass Historic. Apparently, at the meeting that we had, the site visits, he said he had submitted it, but that they didn't get a positive answer. I asked the question, well, do you have that? Do you have that in writing, you know? And we don't know, and I think that subject's gonna come up tomorrow. So the question is, the applicant has indicated that as far as he's concerned, he was denied the ability to list it on the National Register. That's nice, but that doesn't end the whole discussion. You know, should the HBDC, should we agree that this building should be demolished? Personally, I don't think so. I would hope, and I'm giving you my opinion, and you guys can jump in and shut me up. I think at this particular point, not unlike what we just went through with the other issue, I don't think they should say yes or no, demolish it or not demolish it. I think they should just pause, put it on pause. We do a demolition delay when we're not sure. We tell the applicant, you know, we want to delay your demolition and we want you to think about it. And I think that's what I would like to propose, not just Frank Messina, but as the commission, that we all agree, we don't really know what's going on. We don't know what the applicant wants to do on the property. So rather than agreeing to allow the building to demolish, by the way, you know, there were like 3 or 4 other buildings on the property, which the applicant requested demolition, and the HBDC said no. Fortunately or unfortunately, the applicant appealed it to the select board, and apparently the select board didn't, sent it back to the HBDC, and he was allowed to demolish it. I'm hoping that doesn't happen in this case. I'm hoping that the HBDC will slow things down, put a demolition delay, and then find out what can happen with this property. Who knows? Maybe somebody's got a few $1 million and wants to buy the property. We'll see, you know, what we can have. So that's kind of where I would like to go if I was writing the letter, but I'd like to write it collectively. So I'd like to kind of get your thoughts. Janet's got.
Haven't they been thinking about this for about?
Sorry, say it again?
Have they not been thinking about this for the last 4 or 5 years?
No.
They haven't?
No, not at this particular point. They were, you mean, think about putting a theater there? Yes. But at the particular time, at least in the applicant's point of view, I want to get that in the HBDC, the applicant has been told finally by zoning that is not going to let him do what he wants to do. And therefore, what he's presenting to the HBDC is because I can't do Part B, I'm not going to be able to do Part A, and I want to take the building down and proceed with a commercial development. Nance, got something to add?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think part of our letter should, you know, talk about this building it's more than 1935. The oldest portion of the theater is likely from around maybe between 1860 and 1880. Yeah. An ice house that was moved, that is probably the lobby of the building. It was used as a toy factory by the Gills. Harold Dunbar used it as a studio for a period of time. This is all before it became a theater in 1935. And then the family that started the theater or sold it and it became the theater was Mary Winslow. The family owned the Boston Herald. I mean, there's so much history associated with this building. I think it's real travesty if a board that is dealing with historical significance lets this be demolished.
Yeah, and you're hitting a nail on the head here, because at the site visit, he said, well, the building is not historic. I said, well, yeah, it's not Queen Anne, but the building is historically significant.
It's an industrial building that's historic, yeah.
And by the way, I dug out some old letters that I wrote in 2019, in which I made that same case when we were encouraging the applicant to go for National Register designation. When we were going to proceed for National Register designation, you know, the different criteria. Architecture wasn't the primary one. It was the fact that for 80 years, this was a cultural center of Chatham, and it shouldn't be demolished. I think we're on the same wavelength. So I agree with you. It's not, yeah, we think it's architecturally perfect. It's not. You know, it's an old building.
There's other criteria for historical significance, and this hits those on
Ron,
many, many levels.
And I just am looking for a little bit of help here, you know, yes. Stephanie, you want to say something?
No.
No? Robert?
I haven't been involved with this, of course. I would like to see it not taken down,
Yeah.
but I don't have a history. It sounds like to me that there's a lot of silos that are brushing up against this issue. I don't know if they're all talking to each other, but
Absolutely not.
anyway.
I agree.
So I'm going to just kind of
This is-
sit back and let my learned colleagues jump in here.
This
I'm-
is 6 years of of major screw-up.
Yeah.
Just, nobody's talking to nobody else.
Yeah.
Robert?
Frank, you have so much background. I'm deferring to your good judgment on this, and I think you have the right idea to write a letter that encourages slowdown, encourages more thinking on
Yeah,
this and
that's-
not
that's
demolish.
exactly
I
what-
did want to ask one
That's
thing.
all I want to do.
I did want to ask one thing, just procedurally, do they have the final say, or do we get to?
No, we have no authority here at all.
So they're going to meet
This was-
tomorrow.
this
Are
is-
they going to get the letter before tomorrow? No?
Well, yes,
Okay.
because I'll get it to, the meeting's not till 4:30.
Okay.
So by sometime tonight or this afternoon, I'll write it, I'll get it to Christina, and then it'll get to them by 4:30.
Perfect, Frank. I like that.
All right? Yes.
So that's what I meant by that they'd had all this time to think about it,
I'm
because.
sorry, say it again?
I said, that's what I meant when I asked you if they hadn't had like 5 or 6 years to think about it, because wasn't it their plan for it to be in the National Register? I mean, they wanted this.
They wanted it in the National Register.
Yeah.
So they could get the tax credits.
Well, for whatever reason, if it had been in the National Register, they got the historic part of it. They understood. They were for that, right?
Well, I would agree up to a point, but I didn't, quite honestly, very candidly, I don't know what their application, they submitted it to Mass Historic. We did not. It wasn't my application. My application was this. They redid it, focusing more on the architecture. That's, but, you know, we don't own the property, you know. We can only request eligibility. It's up to the owner to actually, he's got the final say. So we were kind of pushed out of it, so to speak. You know, the owners, this is what I'm going to do.
Meaning the person that bought it, or the theater group that owned it?
Well, the theater group, unfortunately, that ship sailed years ago.
So you're Clark, the one that bought it, yeah. It seems to me like he got that it was historic.
sorry?
It seems to me like he understood that this was historic and should be saved if he wanted to apply to for it to be in the National Register. Like,
Yeah,
we're
but
all
his
on the same
position-
page.
Yeah, I'll only speak because this was a site visit, it wasn't a public meeting, and I'm sure the discussion will happen tomorrow. But his position at this particular point is he was turned down by Mass Historic, that it was not historic. That's what I said in the beginning. Yeah, see, he said he submitted it, and I said, well, were you denied? And he said, well, yeah, but I said, well, do you have that?
I got it, okay.
Okay. All right, guys, I don't want to belabor it, but I'm going to write a short, sweet letter. And, you know, it's our considered opinion that this is a very historic property, you know, and we would like to see this, at a minimum, that the HBDC delay the demolition until we have time to figure out what can be done with this property, and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Sorry. I know, I bring all the easy ones back to you guys, you know? Trust me.
Excuse me, Frank. I put this letter in the wrong part of Nancy's package, but we do need to read it into the record for 42 Hallett. Sorry.
Isn't the ship sailed?
Yes, but it needs to go into the record.
Okay.
This is a letter dated October 30th regarding 42 Hallett Lane and the 67 School Street garage. They're the same property, essentially. It's from Lee Williams and Elizabeth English of 42 Hallett Lane and 67 School Street. They are the owners. We want to begin by thanking the commission for working collaboratively with us to approve plans to renovate our home at 67 School Street. We understand that change is difficult for people, but we trust that ultimately the preservation of our bungalow and its garden will not only honor its history, but delight those who pass by it. So again, we thank you for your support. With regard to the renovation of the garage, a vernacular structure located at the back of the property, our plan addresses issues of both functionality and safety. It proposes a modest extension or infill of the garage beneath the deck, allowing us to fit a modern car and also support the existing deck, which is currently supported by 3 2x4s. During the May 20th hearing of the Chatham Historical Commission, the chair noted that the commission is not especially concerned about what happens in the back of the property, away from the streetscape. Given that our garage is in fact at the back of the property and is obscured by hedges along all neighboring properties, we hope you will agree that our plan will bring the garage's use up to date as both an understandable and reasonable request. With thanks for your consideration.
Okay, I think that's a little bit of housekeeping. If there's nothing else, thank you very much. The only thing, Preservation Awards, when is the meeting? November?
November 14th,
November 14th. And what time is that?
10:30.
10:30? Thank you very much. Oh, the only other thing that's happening, just so you know, on the Nickerson, Holly Herbst, the archaeologist, is meeting with the Nickerson Family Association and the Chatham Conservation Foundation, and they're having a meeting on the preparation of the application. I think I reported it, but again, the Nickerson Family Association has taken over the financial obligation to do the actual application, and that's proceeding. We are still being involved as the Historical Commission, but that's good news, and that's moving forward. And I mentioned the Preservation Awards. You're okay for that meeting, right? And so we now have 2 additional members from the HBDC, Robert Burns and Gilmore. So we've got a full Preservation Awards. But still think about it, you know, it's not too late. If you think about a particular property in town that you think is worthy of, just to put it forward, so, right? And Christine could follow up on it. All right? Anything else?
Just to clarify, that it's not required for us to attend that, right? You guys are handling.
No, this is Janet and ourselves. Would you like to join the committee? Oh, thank you. Watch it when you ask questions. Okay, I think we need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second?
All right. Nancy?
Yes?
Steph?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert Wilson?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.